Are you talking to me? Okay, I'm sorry. I really can't hear you guys very well, so I apologize.
No problem. Tell us a little about softball, please.
Okay, so I'm going to get to talk about Lily Filger today. She has been a 4-year starter for the softball program at center field, and this year she had a crazy good season. Her batting average was a .536, which is, you know, anything over 500 is really, really good. No errors on the season, didn't commit a single error. She has several records for the Kearney softball program. One is the career runs scored record at 139. Previous record for that was 131. She has a career stolen base record at 64, and the previous record was 46, so she blew that one out of the water. Season stolen base record was 24. Just an overall great kid, great leader, and she, you know, got that all-state recognition that she deserved this year.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you very much. She was really well deserved for her. Congratulations, Lily. We're very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Take care. Coach Long next. There. Coach Long, are you there? You are on mute, it looks like. There you go.
All right, let me get my video going here. Okay, there we go. Hi. First of all, thanks for having us here and for you know, allowing all the guys to receive some honor for their accomplishments this season. As everyone knows, this was a difficult year for all athletes, and you know, we had some other issues with William Jewell's pool, and you know, there's just a crazy year and all. So we're very thankful to have made it through the season healthy and have had some success at the state meet, and thankful to be able to have a state meet. So just want to recognize 5 guys who were first team All-State. Senior Vaughn Sloan was first team All-State in the 200 medley relay, the 100 backstroke, the 100 freestyle, and the 400 free relay. Vaughn's been a 4-year state swimmer for us and been a state champion. His sophomore year, he's been very helpful towards our program and a great leader. He's going to go do great things swimming at William Jewell. Senior Carter Woods probably had the swim of the state meet. Carter dropped 4 seconds in his 200 IM, dropped 2 seconds in his 100 fly, or a full second in his 100 fly, and was first team All-State in the 200 IM, the medley relay, and the 400 free relay. Just barely missed out being first team All-State in the 100 fly. He dropped a lot of time but some of the guys ahead of him just barely dropped a little more time as well. So we're really proud of Carter and his leadership and thank him for everything that he's done for the program. A couple of juniors, Scott Dahl was first team All-State in the medley relay, the 200 or the 500 freestyle, the 100 breaststroke, and the 400 free relay. Scott had a huge year for us and had multiple massive swims throughout the year, barely missed out on the conference record in the 500 freestyle. And we look forward to all the things he'll be able to do next year. Ridge McBride was first team All-State in the 200 medley in the 200 medley relay and the 400 free relay. Ridge McBride did a great service to the team by opting to swim 3 relays to try and help the team score more points instead of swimming 2 individual events. We're very thankful for his dedication towards doing that. It allowed the team to place in the top 10 for the 5th time in 6 years, which is very impressive, and we're very happy about that. And, we're very excited to see what Ridge is going to bring to the table next year and hopefully be popping into that top 8 and be first team All-State in individual events as well. And then Adam Hoffman, who he's not here with us right now, but Adam Hoffman had a great swim, had great swims as well. He dropped some more time individually. He was first team All-State in the medley relay or in the 400 free relay. He was first team All-State in the 400 free relay. So we're looking forward to having Adam back again next year and hopefully placing top 8 in 2 of his individual events. So the team placed 7th overall at the state meet, which we're very happy about. It may not have been the meet that we were kind of hoping to have, but again, we're happy to make it through the season healthy and have the opportunities that we had.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate your hard
Thanks,
work.
guys.
Congratulations on the season. Guys, congratulations to you on your accomplishments, support of the district, hard work. I know it's never easy to get there. Really appreciate it. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Hey, Coach, your dog's kind of wandering around in the picture. He's added a
I know.
set.
It's impossible to keep him away. It doesn't matter where I go. He has to be there. If I shut the door out, he's clawing at the door and scratching the paint. So, it's
Take care.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it as well.
Next we have volleyball.
We're not going to do a volleyball. They weren't able to make it tonight, so one cross.
Okay, and I saw Coach Roberts was on, and we are having cross country. Coach Roberts? Coach Roberts, your mute is on. You may want to take it off. Ryan, is Coach Roberts mute on because of you or him? Coach Roberts, your mute is on. Can you take it off? Can you hear us? Coach Ankle, can you text him and tell him to take his mute off? Or one of the other participants, Abby or Jillian? Can you? No, I think he's ready. Coach, are you there? Roberts? Darla, you're on mute either here or there.
When you say you're on mute, you see it. Could make the students give the away.
Can you take Jillian and Abby off of mute so they can talk to us?
So let's let them start.
Jillian, Abby, you need to, Abby, you can take yours off of mute. There you go. You can't get a hold of him. You guys want to tell us how you did?
Coach isn't very good with technology.
You're talking now. It's not about technology. It's about how you did the cross country.
I'm just happy that we got to have a season in a state meet because I wasn't sure what it was going to look like this year with everything going on, but I'm just really happy that we got to have it.
And how well did you do?
I got 24th, and I ran a personal record by 30 seconds.
That's great. Congratulations. Abby, you want to tell us a little bit about how you did?
Yeah, I was also really happy that we got to have the season because that was something I was really nervous about. And at state, I got 20th with a 37-second PR.
Fantastic. This is a new course. Was last year the first year on that course at state?
Yeah.
You have a different one this year.
The first year on this course was my sophomore year, so 2018.
So Jillian, you're a senior?
Yeah, I'm a senior, and my freshman year, the state course was in Jefferson City, and then it got moved to Columbia.
Abby, what year are you?
I'm a sophomore.
Great. Couple more years to go. Fantastic. So we still don't have Coach Roberts. Congratulations, girls. Appreciate all your dedication and hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Darlie, you can tell Jeff he muted himself again, so.
She said it. It's got it.
Okay.
That might be what we need to do moving forward is let the kids speak. I mean, I loved that. I know coaches worked really hard, but that was fun to listen to them talk. It really was.
Absolutely. We have no public comment tonight, so entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. School operations. All right. Next is current school operations. We hear from the elementary task force from Ms. Kopp.
And as Mrs. Kopp's getting up and preparing to present stuff, we continue to experience COVID-19 and the pandemic and the impact on school operations regularly. We continue to hold high priority to health and safety while also teaching and learning going at high levels. We continue to learn a lot, make adjustments as we go. So just for a perspective, we had at one point a high number of isolations at 38 and a high number of quarantines at 350. Significant impact on school operations when we have that many staff and students that are missing. But our staff has done an outstanding job. When they're sick, they've stayed home. That's been outstanding. But they've also been really cognizant of taking additional leave because COVID is not the only reason that you need to miss work occasionally. Our staff's being careful about that and very aware of how things are going. We've had increased substitute recruiting, which has helped us to continue to operate hybrid at the secondary and full capacity at elementary. We have hired about 45 new substitutes from October through today. And so we are up to around 131 substitutes in total, which is a bit higher than we normally carry, which is a huge kudos to our HR department, Mr. Morrison, Don Coonrod, and to people in our community that are reaching out and then stepping up to come in and help us out so we can keep school going for our kids. So that's been really strong. We continue to work on that. That said, even with that, we've had fill rates as low as 62%, meaning 38% of the jobs that day were unfilled, and we're frequently in the low 70s on fill rates. So that puts a stress on our programming to be able to keep things going, but we've been able to do that pretty well. In November, we averaged a fill rate of just short of 80%. This month, we're doing a little bit better. we're in the mid-80s. I hope to finish up strong, so those are good. So our, just overall, I think due to our teachers, our counselors, social workers, administrators, and everyone else, we're doing a good job connecting and meeting students where they are, and our students are doing pretty well. You may see some headlines that say that students in the nation are failing, that things aren't going well. I hope that that's exaggerated at other places, but I can tell you that although maybe our students aren't doing as well as they typically would, our students are still doing very well. We're monitoring assessment data and end of semester grades and watching very closely to see how things are going, but our students are doing well. So we'll be seeing more of that as we go forward. We've had several task forces working. Last month, you heard from Mrs. Kopp on secondary, and we've had from then to now, an elementary task force was formed and met many times, and Mrs. Kopp's going to share the findings and recommendations that way.
Yeah, so for the last 3 weeks, I've been getting together periodically with the elementary task force. Each of the elementary principals selected representatives from their buildings. And initially, we talked about the big question is how do we reduce the workload and stress level of the elementary teachers? And so kind of their wish list was they needed additional time because keeping up with quarantine students was taking a lot of additional time. They're putting together video lessons, they're putting together Nearpod lessons, they're Zooming with these kids, they're emailing with parents. So just that additional workload added to their day. And then they have also lost time because they are trying to cohort their groups, keep all their groups together, during their lunches, during their RTI sessions, during their recess. The kids are cohorted, which means that teacher is always with their groups, so they really do not get any relief during the day. Periodic relief, sometimes for lunch, sometimes they can rotate out for recess, but they are pretty much with their kids all day long. So they were looking for time. They have asked for maybe some additional recess support. They have asked if they could get tech support in the buildings on a regular rotation basis when they run into some issues. And the biggie, they did ask for coffee pots back in their rooms. I mean, it is hard for them to even get away to go to a workroom or something. I mean, that sounds, I suppose that sounds ridiculous, but they can't get away from their rooms to go down to get coffee. So they would like to have their coffee pots back in their rooms. So when we were looking at ways to provide additional time, I mean, we worked hard to figure out a way that because of starting school on the 8th, we don't have the extra hours built in. We have to go 1,044 hours, and we have 1,045 in our schedule right now. So we cannot give them all of these early outs. We could do 2-hour early outs on Wednesdays or every other Wednesday, something like that. But in order to do that, they have to prepare virtual lessons, 2 hours worth of virtual lessons for the kids to do on their own time. So anything that we looked at, possibly getting a full-time sub in each building to give teachers a break, but quite honestly, we can't fill the sub slots we have right now. So if we hired a full-time sub, the sub would probably be split in someplace else. So that's really not going to give our teachers any relief. We talked about using the Tuesdays on those 4-day weeks as a virtual day. And that would give teachers additional work time. The principals did go back and they talked to the rest of their teachers about these ideas. And it was overwhelmingly that the teachers, they do not want their kids out of their classroom. Even though, they are putting in extra time, They don't want to give up a day. They don't want to give up those 2 hours. It's not worth it to them to prepare 2 hours of virtual lesson to gain those 2 hours back. And they did not want, it's not that they wouldn't want a day to work on stuff, but not if it meant giving up a day with their kids. I mean, that's just, that's how our teachers are. I mean, they want their kids in the classroom. I went out and I talked to teachers and they said, as long as I have my kids in my classroom, I can make the rest of it work. So, I mean, kudos to them. So, after going through all those possibilities, we honestly, I mean, there's just not a lot of ways to give teachers back additional time. So what we did say, we did have the different requirements of video lessons and near-pod lessons, you know, to send out, post online for the kids that were gone. So we did say that they should just Zoom in, let those kids get live lessons. They don't have to do that. Some teachers have really gotten these video lessons very streamlined, or their near-pod lessons, and they are fine doing that. But for the ones that are not, if they are comfortable with just doing Zoom lessons and giving live lessons, that really saves them a lot of time if they don't have to prepare those additional video lessons. Ashley Weaver, our technology instructional coach, she has already set her schedule with the building principals now. She will be in each of the buildings every week, going through just seeing how she can support them with any issues they have or anything new that they're wanting to do in class. So that is already set. We are letting them have their coffee pods back. And we are going to try to get recess aids. That is something else. We don't know for sure that we can find the people to fill these slots, but we will try to do that. Quite honestly, that kind of those people are going to come from the same pool as like our paras. And again, we're not able to fill some of those slots. So, but we are going to try to find these recess aids just to give the teachers a little bit of a reprieve.
So a recess aid, does that, would that involve just the 20-minute slot? I mean, like, could you, if you have a parent that's willing to do 20 minutes in the afternoon, or you have a group of PTO members that are willing to do that, are able to do that, is that something that you can look at? Or does it have to be employees? I mean, what are the requirements for recess aids?
You know.
Just, you don't have the answer now, but that's just.
Right. In the past, we had it before, probably back in probably 2008. We had a recess aid per building. We actually hired them, so then they were, in other words, you had a certified teacher with a recess aid, and then allowed the rest of the grade level team to have that time off so that they could make copies, make some parent phone call, just have an additional 15, 20 minutes there. And if you look at that over sometimes a week, sometimes that might be 40 minutes to an hour getting back, depending on the size of the grade level. Obviously, Dogwood versus South, you have more team members on the grade level.
I don't know if I got the answer to her question. Like, I know there used to be a program at Hawthorne where the dads volunteered or something like that. I can't remember what that was called, and then it just stopped. Is there a possibility of using volunteers to help with that? Not be the only recess aid, but to help?
Come in and say, hey, we'll take this 20 minutes or this hour.
Yeah, if you have two teachers out there instead of have one that's a volunteer and one that's a teacher. I mean, is there?
If they don't enter the building and they need, I understand keeping.
Yeah, and I understand the liability issues and things like that, and background checks.
Right.
I get all that.
That's probably the biggest thing is you have that.
But we used to do that. We used to do the background checks.
Yeah, you used to have, I can't remember that. I can't remember.
I don't know. I just
program, but we had that, I think, Kearney Elementary, Hawthorne. Maybe we had it in all elementaries. They had they had gone through background check process.
Right.
Be able to work with kids.
I just think we throw it out to PTO. I mean, I wouldn't want to pick the recess aid.
So,
35 degree weather, and I rolled a 60.
Probably the only thing that we have to look at is in a reentry plan. We talked about limiting really no outside visitors other than we have employees. And so then you're bringing that potential into the building, and when you have continued,
You have to have a very limited number of people.
consistent employee that's always coming in. Are you having sense in this pandemic?
Are you anticipating that we'll have recess aids this year, second semester, or is this something for next year that you're looking at?
We were looking at second semester this year.
It makes it, given COVID, I think it'd make it very hard for parents to do it under those circumstances.
Yeah, you have to limit it.
If we were talking about separating the future, we're going back to what it means, I could understand how that, I think, social distancing, everything. Certainly, we want to do everything we can to assist the teachers and make their job easier. That's practical, with practical as we can.
So honestly, I mean, the teachers, they even said, the ones on the task force, that they understood. I think they came into the meeting thinking there was going to be ways to find time. They understood after we went through everything. There just wasn't a lot that we could do at this point. And I mean, this is the list of their wants, which is not a whole lot, and they said that they'd be okay.
You think that's a reflection of that they are 5 days a week in their individual pods in their own classroom? I say pods, not even pod, in their individual classrooms all day long. So their interaction as far as the hybrid schedule or any other kind of schedule is different to them because they're there every day with their kiddos 5 days a week. You think that that's why this list is a little less as far as the wants?
Well, I think they know they're very fortunate to have their kids 5 days a week. I think when elementary kind of compared to secondary and they see that, you know, the kids are going 2 days a week and the teachers do have some other time in there worked in, that we have given them some additional time to work on stuff. I don't think they understood the incredible responsibilities that some of the a lot of the secondary people have, and after they understood what the secondary days look like and how there just aren't any extra hours in the day, I think they thought, you know what, we're okay. They've also gotten, I mean, it's been a huge learning curve this year. They're having to do a lot of things differently. But I think now they're kind of sailing along pretty smooth, and they're at a point now where they're like, you know what, we're okay. Because I asked, is it sustainable? And they're like, yes. As long as I have my kids in my class, it's sustainable. It's the little things, just to know that we know they're working hard. I mean, a teacher told me today that it's not common in years past that teachers' cars were out in the parking lot over an hour before they had to be there and over an hour after they had to leave, but they are working and they're putting in extra time. And, we need to recognize that and appreciate them because of those extra things, the kids feel like school is normal at the elementary and the parents feel that it's normal, that it's because of the extra work they're doing. Any questions?
Thank you.
Next, second semester enrollment update.
So we've gone through a process to look at KSD Connect enrollment, in-person enrollment. Mrs. Kopp, you want to make a few comments about that? Just a brief update.
Yeah, just briefly, we really thought we would have a bigger drop in KSD Connect, but right when it was time to commit to second semester, there's a spike in COVID. So honestly, we are pretty even at almost every grade level, you know, a little variation of just a few people here and there. We are 10 different overall between first semester and second semester. So really we held even.
I have a question. I remember you all, and I know you don't have the data yet because the semester's not over, but I know that part of the KSD Connect is the student can't remain in it if they fail the class.
Correct.
Do you expect there'll be a lot of that where they're forced to come back?
We've had several that will need to come back, yes. Honestly, the buildings right now, they are working really hard with kids that have B's and F's, pulling them in extra and giving that extra support, trying to, you know, get them over the hump. So we'll know here shortly, but there's been a number of them, yes, that have already been notified that they need to come back to in person.
And I'd like to give kudos to Mrs. Kopp, our building administrators, our counselors, and our teachers who have been communicating with students that aren't doing well all along for the last several weeks or months, and making sure that they are aware and understood that you know they're getting the help and the offers for help that they need. We are providing the support they needed, and for those that still aren't being successful, this won't be a surprise to them. There have been several communications with those students and families. So, and you know, some online isn't for everyone. So we hope that we can help them find success in person or hybrid and second semester.
Next is new guidance from Clay County Public Health Center. Talk about that a little bit, how we're going to apply.
Yes. So, if, as you're paying attention to it last week, Clay County released the new quarantine guidance based on CDC study, a change from 14 to 10 days. Still, 14 is the gold standard, obviously. But the reason in changing that from per the CDC is looking at days 11 through 14. The risk falls at day 14 below 1%, ranging to on the day 11 up to possible 10%. So we've been keeping our internal data, and so I asked Tammy Thomas to look at ours for our close contacts and how many have become positive in that realm of day 11 through 14. And we had 5. And so as we look at that, that falls well below 1% in our time period that we have been in school. And so while there's still a risk, we know that I think this can be a good thing for kids and staff with this. But realize if we look at the 10-day quarantine, they must have no symptoms during those 10 days. And they still, on day 11 through 14, must still monitor their symptoms while still wearing a mask. The mask mandate is already in place with that. And as you guys see the stories, I appreciate the board's support of that. I think that is helping us out quite a bit. Now, I know that in there's a 7-day quarantine with a negative test. That is not a possibility in Clay County because you have to have availability of the correct test, the PCR test, and they do not. That is coming directly from Clay County, so that's not even an option with this. So if the individual who has to quarantine, if they're unable to wear a mask, they have to do the full 14 days. So obviously, kids and staff in school, that's mandated, so that's not an issue in there. But now activities, we have to understand that will be a full 14-day quarantine. okay, because they have to continue to wear the mask and working through that with activities. That's just the way that we think is best. And it's also recommended.
Yeah, with the mission.
And, well, Misha is in.
Step up or step
Yeah,
up.
Misha really talks about the positive case and the return to play. From their standpoint, that is looking at local health guidance on quarantines. So we kind of discussed that in our meetings. We have weekly meetings with Clay County. Like on Wednesdays, they dedicate just to Kearney. So administrators and nurses hop on and are just able to talk about Kearney cases. And then on Fridays, we have another meeting with Clay County where it's all the schools. So we talk about guidance and just things that different school districts are working on. So appreciate Clay County, how much that they've reached out to the school districts. They've really done a phenomenal job. And sometimes they don't get the good press. So I would like to give them kudos that they have been a very good resource for us. So looking kind of at that, then one of the things internally, if going to the 10-day quarantine, we'd also like to take a look at how do we follow up with our students, our staff, day 9, day 10, with that, so to make sure that they've been symptom-free, to have an ease of guidance that knowing they're walking in day 11, they've been symptom. And so those are some, our nurses have had quite a big challenge, but they have followed up sometimes with our, depending on what their caseload looks like, from day 5 to day 9 with kids that have been close contacts. But obviously sometimes, as you guys can see with our dashboard, our high school sometimes presents a challenge when you have activities and you also have kids that have been positive or close contacts. The team has to quarantine, obviously. Those are some things, it's kind of a challenge for that nurse to handle by herself. So we'll kind of work through that. But I think we can feel good, or me talking to the board about this and making that change for second semester to a 10-day quarantine, is our data proves that there is still a risk, but it's very, very small. And the positives of bringing kids back into school, staff doing their jobs for our kids is far greater.
And if we change it, and then we see a spike, and then we can always reevaluate, right?
Yeah, we can always reevaluate. And I think, our internal dashboard, Clay County, Lexi Bertasini sees that, and she's monitoring. So she's we've been very transparent with her, so she can talk to us too about what she's seeing. So I think this would be a good time in second semester to make that change, make that flip. Is there any questions I could help answer?
But you would have started it sooner. But
What's that?
I said, I wish you would have started it about 2 weeks ago. I think you know where I'm going with that. My daughter's class got quarantined for 2 weeks. So,
Yeah.
So did my legal assistants,
well, there you go.
and I'm a dinosaur. Assistants.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. Ms. Elsie going to talk to us specifically. Do you have anything on financials?
The fund balance projection is consistent with last month. Looking at end-of-year fund balance is 20.74%. Ms. LC and budget managers have been working to look at budgets and starting that budget development process. So that's been good. There's still several pieces that are moving, which isn't that's not entirely unusual with any year, but this year we're looking at additional moving pieces. So that's why we're still static at the 20.74%. Hoping for maybe some additional federal money would be nice, and that would help, because we certainly have additional expenditures that we have coming, or that we're not making now, but we could. It would make things better for our students and for our staff. So, anything you'd add to that, Zelson?
Budget managers are very cooperative, looking at the budget.
we don't know anything about next year's funding. I mean, it's all kind of up in the air.
The initial reports they're projecting less revenue in the state of Missouri next year. That's about as far as they've gotten with the consensus revenue.
Thank you. Next action items.
So currently, the Family First Coronavirus Response Act is set to expire December 31st, 2020. And there has been some talk of federal government maybe possibly extending that into the second semester of the school year, maybe May 31st, June 30th, but nothing has been official. In the meantime, while that's being figured out, I feel like this would be something I'd like the board to take action on. If we have to put a staff member in multiple quarantines, we are asking them to stay home for the safety of themselves and for others. And this would allow them with this so that we're not taking away from their paid leave. We want to make sure that students are safe, staff are safe as well. So it's quite possible, we've seen kids that have had multiple quarantines, very quite possible that we'll have staff that have multiple quarantines. And we've kind of experienced that. I mean, it's on the lower side, but again, something that we're looking at for the health and safety of others. So this resolution, we would look to sunset it at the end of May 31st, 2021. But if we have things because of school exposure, and we've asked them to quarantine, and put that in there, or if they become positive themselves, we ask them to isolate.
So if we ask them to quarantine, whether it's due to a school exposure or personal exposure?
So, I'm sorry.
We ask them to quarantine, does it matter whether it's due to a school-related exposure or whether it's due to a personal exposure?
Right now, we've had, or anything, if we still follow the guidelines, like for example, like if we have people that are in different counties and other counties have maybe less, like for example, if Lake County would tell us that they didn't identify a close contact and they need to. And so that would fit with the definition of FCRA that a government agency has asked you to quarantine. We would still follow that as well. They still have to provide documentation of this.
I move to approve resolution to extend FFCRA leaves as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Next is library program evaluation.
As they have in the past, the librarians put together a short video just to kind of show you what they're doing, things that are going on in the library. So in lieu of them coming in during COVID, we just have the video to show you. completely different this year than they ever have in the past. We have 2 that are teaching our KSD Connect classes. So the other 2 elementary librarians are they're each covering 2 schools. Our secondary librarians, they're subbing in classrooms when they're needed. They're supporting struggling students. I mean, they have shown incredible flexibility, just helping out however they can, and they've been awesome about it.
Well, they never disappoint on their presentation.
I know.
They're always the most, they make a great video, keep you engaged.
Entertain a motion.
Move to approve program evaluation for the library as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next is program of studies approval.
Hello. I am here for your annual program of studies review and to answer any questions you might have. It might be the masks, but I'm not hearing anything.
You are always so thorough. I mean, there's no need for questions. We've been here.
Or you just know it's better to get me out of here now before something bad happens. Either way is good.
I have a question, semi-related. So how we talked previously about how many courses were offered and, you know, how that was difficult to navigate through semester 1. How much of a change has there been for the second semester?
We're working on that now. So one of the goals administration has is working to kind of consolidate kids into classes so that there are fewer teachers having small numbers. So, and we've done this before, it's not new, we have not done it on this scale. So for example, we've had online health and online personal finance before. And we let kids know if those don't get to 5, we won't be able to have that class that semester. We work around seniors, because of course those are graduation requirements. So we're just using that same process to look at student schedules and to look at numbers. And then again, to try to consolidate kids into classes that will give higher numbers for classes, fewer teachers required to teach. And we've got enough variety that I think we're able to accommodate kids pretty well. So for example, maybe business management is not going to have that 5, but we've got interbusiness and business law that would. So we've still got a business option for you. So we're using the process we've used in the past. We didn't really have time to look at it this way semester 1. Now where the caveat will be, we have some kids in full year classes. So as they may or may not go to KSD Connect, we can't say, oh, you have to drop AP Government now. That was something we'd initially offered. Our current plan, tell me if I'm wrong, is to keep on allowing those kids that option. But again, I think the other thing that we have in our pocket for next year is looking at what classes had it wrong, what didn't. I think we can use the same scheduling process we've always used to say, pick any class you want. If it doesn't make, we'll call you, but we can do it this side of schedules versus last year doing it. I love how Andy put this, instead of flying the plane as we were building it. Or Dr. Gustafson, I should say. Yeah.
Okay. I move to approve program of studies and virtual program of studies as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Carnes, for coming to visit us this evening.
You bet. I couldn't get fun shoes to show, so I got my mask for you this year.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Next is change from board policy, GDBDA. Would you like to talk to us about that?
So when looking at this school year and the option of using AMI, alternative method of instruction, for an inclement weather day, we went through all the job categories within the district and looked at how that would fit into if we were to use that day. And an example that we kind of use that roads are fine, but we have a severe wind chill. And it's recommended that kids don't be outside for a bus more than 5 minutes. This would be the perfect time that we could still flip the switch and provide instruction, but we would be using basically an online format. So we looked through all the job categories, and we did identify a few categories in our classified that we wouldn't have work for them. So as we kind of look, there could be, since no work, no pay, that would be an option that they could take. Or is there a possibility that we could adjust our policy to say that they can use leave in that? And so this allows us to look at those classified categories and allows them to have an option to use their leave if they so choose in the event that we would use one of these AMI leave days and still continue with our instruction.
Because in the past, if we missed a day, we made it up. You didn't lose pay. And these folks are not folks who are well paid to begin with. And so Dr. Ball and I talked about this somewhat extensively, trying to find a fair way of doing it for the staff. And I think what's provided is the closest we can get. There's no perfect answer. It's just a complicated topic. Giving them options to do that was.
It's quite fair for us to really even, I think
it gives an option.
Yeah, it gives an option.
Right. So that was what we thought was most important.
Absolutely.
How much leave in a year does that type of employee have? How many leave days?
Is it 10 days? Is that correct?
Yeah, each year.
Very professional. And so some other things were still, I think a couple things that are still under consideration. One is we may end up having some additional work that we may be able to put out and say, if you're interested in coming to work for some task that the district needs that particular day, we may be able to let employees opt in to that and not have to use leave. We're still working to see what might be available and how that might work on the last minute snow day situation. That's something we're looking into to try to address. And then the other thing I think is a bigger question is how well AMI days are going to work this year. This year we are more or less required to because of what we had to do with our calendar because of COVID. But as we go through, this is our first time using them, I think, and as we plan future calendars and think about it, I think it's going to be important to evaluate whether we get the bang for our buck on those AMI days. If we're going to use 6 days of student contact time with our teachers in this way, or do we feel good about about that decision? So I think that's something that we'll monitor this year. And then for future years, there's nothing that says we have to make every snow day an AMI day. That can be something that's called from time to time, depending on what the calendar allows. But this year, we're so tight on our calendar hours and requirements. We're either going to have to do AMI or we're going to have to extend the school year. That's the only choice that we have.
Anybody have any questions? Not entertain a motion.
I move to approve and adopt board policy GDDDA as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Next is board member comments. Would like to comment. I did not express to Lily Filger how great her career is.
Yeah.
I couldn't see her. I thought
That's all right. I'm sure she did.
so. But otherwise, thank you all. As always, spirited meeting, both in executive session as well as regular session.
teachers are doing great stuff. I have a student who's taking advantage of the academic resources. And it's good, it's very good. I'm still concerned that not enough students are taking advantage of it. I always ask him how many other kids were there, and that concerns me that, you know, we aren't fully utilizing it. I'm not sure why, but I don't think it's because of lack of effort on the part of the teachers and the administration to know that, because that stuff comes out all the time to the parents and the students and that kind of thing. So I appreciate what the teachers are doing because they are going over and above, and they don't have much free time during the day to think or grab a cup of coffee and go to bed. So they're doing good work.
They have more coffee though, they're gonna have to go to bed.
That's right.
How's it gonna work?
I want to encourage everybody in this room and anybody who watches online that if you have a positive experience with a teacher, to make sure and put it in writing and copy the principal on that positive experience. It needs more of that teacher than I think any of us realize. That we're not only thanking them for something they went above and beyond as they do every day, but that the administrator knows that as well and highlight that for that teacher.
Important dates, December 22nd, end of semester half day for kids. Also, board candidate filing begins. The office will be open all day. But you have to get there early. Get in line. Pull your number. See how you get picked. But it can be throughout the day. Yep. December 23rd through January 1st, winter break. January 4th, no school. Professional Development Day. School resumes on January 5th. January 19th, board candidate filing ends, and January 20th. Entertain a motion.
Action for closed session to immediately proceed the regular meeting in January, including any record or vote, discuss items and issues allowable under section 610021 of the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Roll call, please.
Darlene Bailey? Yes. Brian Ham?
Yes.
Dan Holloway? John Kern?
Yes.
Bruce Switzer? Yes. Susan Morman?
Yes.
Mark Kelly?